Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Nourisher podcast. Today's guest started her career in front of a camera at 20 years old, and she spent nearly 2 decades becoming someone Amarillo absolutely recognized. But behind the recognizable face, there was a woman quietly wrestling with the version of herself that TV had built. A version that was always trying to look smaller, trying to fit a mold, and always tying her worth to what the industry said it should be. When she finally walked away, she found something that she wasn't expecting, which was herself. Jackie Kingston is the executive director of the Amarillo Tribune, which is the city's first community-supported nonprofit newsroom, and she is one of the most genuinely grounded people I have had the pleasure of talking to. We talk about what it actually felt like to step out of a public role and have to relearn who she was without it. We talk about what it looks like to lead from a place of compassion and why she believes curiosity is the antidote to almost everything. We talk about local news, why it matters more than most of us realize, and what it means to finally be doing work that nourishes you instead of depletes you. And we talk about love, because honestly, you cannot tell Jackie's story without mentioning Lytton, and I would not have wanted to do it any other way. So this one is one that we've all been waiting for, so let's get into it. Hello, Jackie. Thank you so much for being on the Nourisher podcast. I have to say, I am fangirling a little bit because I have been seeing you since you've been on the news and now following your work with the Amarillo Tribune. So I am just so ecstatic that you're here with us today.
Well, likewise. Thank you so much for having me, Kayla. I'm so happy to be here and to chat with you and to get to know you a little bit more. We've kind of known each other in a professional sense, but it's nice to just chat with you too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, outside of the Amarillo Tribune, who is Jackie Kingston? Like, what makes you you?
Oh, yeah. I am totally, absolutely, desperately in love with my precious husband, Lytton. That is the first thing that I think a lot of people may know about me other than the job that I do. And that is exactly how I'd like it. Meeting Lytton and falling in love with them and learning what love is through them has just been truly, it was a fundamental change in my life. There is a before and an after Lytton for me. And it set me on this journey that we'll talk about more, but being loved by Lytton and loving Lytton is just the greatest gift of my entire life. I'm so thrilled to be their wife. But I also love to cook and I love to garden, and we've got a really cute dog who's a sheepadoodle and his name is Pants. So we have a small, quiet little life, but our world is just loving each other.
Okay, first of all, I love your dog's name.
Thanks.
So random, but I really, really love those like quirky names that not everybody else has. Like your dog's not named Scout like everybody else is. So I absolutely love to hear more about you and Lytton, but how did y'all meet?
I love this story. Thank you for letting me tell it. Okay, so pandemic times, we were both involved in like a little Facebook group, a private Facebook group, right? One of those groups that like gets together on Zoom for happy hour and that kind of stuff. And I got added to it after Lytton had. And when I got added to it, Lytton had to go through and delete comments on this group because they had been crushing on me. Like they had had a crush on me, knowing me from TV. And I did not know this. I wasn't aware of them. But one night during those times, I was cooking big dinners on Sunday for my younger siblings who live here. And one night they ditched me to play Dungeons and Dragons, which is fine. But I had enough pasta to feed like 10 people. So I posted on this group. I was like, hey, if anyone's hungry, I have leftover food and you're welcome to come by and just have it for the week. And Lytton was like, yep, I'll be right there. And they came to my house and I gave them, this little dish of pasta. But when I opened the door, them standing there, it was like rainbows and fireworks and love arrows coming out of our ears. And like, we just immediately recognized each other as, oh, this is my soulmate. This is the person who I am meant to be with. This is who I've been looking for my entire life. So yeah, we met online.
Okay, yeah, but then seeing each other in person is, you don't hear very many people who say it was love at first sight. But what you're describing is definitely you open the door, you see them, and you're like, This is it. This is it for me.
That's exactly right. We joke that we've been in long-term relationship with each other since before we even met because we've been looking for each other. I know that people think that maybe soulmates don't exist, but I can tell you they do because I know mine. It has been the joy of my life to get to know them. And we got married 7 months to the day and almost the minute after we met.
Really?
Yeah, because Lytton came to my house. It was like around 8:30. It was like 8:28. I know the exact time. I'll tell you the exact time. It was 8:28. And and we got married 7 months later. We met on May 16th. We got married on December 16th at the Golden Light at 8:28.
Oh my gosh. See,
Yeah.
yes, that's how you know you are soulmates because you remember every little detail like that.
Every detail. And I remember what they were wearing. I remember I was so overwhelmed by this person. We have a mutual friend, Shay. She's my bestie. And when Lytton and I had been dating for a while, I hadn't been publicly out as a queer person. Lytton is trans and non-binary. And I hadn't publicly accepted or really shared that part of myself with many folks. When Lytton and I started dating, I went to Shay's house to do something and I just said, Shay, I'm dating somebody and I I don't know what, like, this feels big. And I showed her a photo of Lytton and she just burst into tears and we just held each other and cried because it was like, it was so true and it was so important. And you could just feel how big this was for me. And she was such a wonderful support and always has been. But yeah, it was big, but everyone who knew us knew it was coming that we were going to get married. So it was, yeah, we had fun with it.
Oh, I feel like I could talk to you about this all day.
I would love that.
We'll have to have a part 2 where we just talk about you and Lytton.
I would love that.
Well, okay, let's rewind a little bit and let's talk about little girl Jackie and just kind of discover how you got to where you are right now. Were you always this person who wanted to ask lots of questions and tell stories? Because that's been the nature of what you've done over the past, I don't know, decade or more.
Yeah, almost 2 decades, which is crazy. I've been in local news for 18 years here in Amarillo. But I was born in California. I was born on the West Coast and lived there, and we moved a lot, probably every 9 to 18 months. My dad worked for Georgia Pacific Gypsum, and he was just kind of climbing the company ranks. And so we moved often. And we wound up back in Texas when I was pretty young, but we moved a lot. The short version that I tell people is like, I wound up in Vernon, Texas to go to high school, which is true. But we moved from Santa Ana, California, which is a suburb of LA, to Sweetwater, Texas, which is a suburb of
Nothing?
nothing. Yeah, it's a cute, quaint town, but it was a big culture shock for me. So we moved from Sweetwater, and then we stayed there for about 4 years, and it gets a little confusing. But we moved to Quanah, and then we moved to Abilene, and then we finally moved to Vernon. And I had been homeschooled that entire time when I was a kid, and all of my older 2 brothers were also homeschooled. And when we got to Vernon, I was like, Mom, can I go to high school? Like, can I go and do this? Are we going to be here for 4 years? And they were like, yeah, you can do that. So I went to high school. I enrolled. I was the first of my parents' kids to go to public school. And my first day, Kaylor, was like the worst part of Mean Girls. It
Mm.
was so hard. I was so scared. I knew very few people. It's a 3A school. Like, it wasn't a massive, school, but like for me, it was such a huge change. And one of the things that I am most proud of little girl baby Jackie, who was a young freshman. I was one of those, I'm born in June. So I was like a young, maybe 14-year-old coming in. And I went back the next day and I kept going back. And I really, like, that resilience. Ate in the bathroom the first day. I ate in the theater the next few days and kind of found my place in speech and debate and theater and that kind of, those kind of extracurriculars. But yeah, that going back was a moment for me that I was like, this is where I have to be brave and I have to make this choice and follow through and do this, So that has kind of been a theme I graduated from high school at Vernon High School, and I didn't really have a plan. My parents do have degrees now, but they were non-traditional students. And my older brothers did not go to college. And so I was the first in my family to go to school. And I didn't really have a plan. My parents had split up my sophomore summer, and they got busy doing the things that you do when you're going through a divorce. My dad moved back to Sweetwater or Abilene, and my mom started taking classes at Midwestern State University, which is in Wichita Falls. So she was commuting to school in the morning. I was taking care of my younger siblings. I didn't really have time to think about college. Like, it was just kind of, there was a lot going on. And my theater teacher said to me, like 2 weeks before my graduation, she said, "Hey, what is your plan?" And I was like, I'll figure it out, I guess. And she said, "Okay, you are going to West Texas A&M University. You will have a scholarship. You will audition for Royal Brantley on Thursday, so you better apply tonight." And I was like, "Hey, I'm going to WT.
All right,
Where's
cool.
Canyon again?" So I applied. I drove here the next couple of days. I auditioned for Royal Brantley. I got a $500 scholarship, which was enough to get me here because it was a scholarship. And I've been here ever since. And this has been my home ever since. I love this community, and I'm so grateful for everything that gave little baby 18-year-old Jackie, who came here in 2005 and knew 2 people, so I'm just so grateful for our community for letting me build my life here.
Yeah, I love that theater brought you here. I only did 1 act in high school, but I always tell people, I'm like, I won Best Actress my senior year, so I'll take
See?
that.
Yeah, that's a huge accomplishment. That's great.
Yes, but yeah, I think theater, if you're kind of that shy, introverted person, theater really allows you to almost have like an alter ego where you can escape that version of yourself, and then you start to get more brave and you start to be more outgoing and more confident. And so I love that that's kind of your journey of how you got to Canyon, Texas. So
Yeah, that whole speech and debate and theater, it gave me a community, and I needed it when I was in high school. I needed it badly. And it did give me self-confidence, and it helped me get to know what was important and what I was good at. And speaking, I was pretty good at that. And I was pretty good at debate, and I was pretty good at analysis of things. And that, along with, I had always loved writing. So it was a good place to find myself. I was grateful for that.
okay, well, before today, you and I had visited a little bit about, what we wanted to talk about on the podcast, and you mentioned to me that leaving your job in television was a huge moment for you. So can you take us back to that chapter, like what that was like for you in making that decision?
Yes, it was a big moment for me. And it wasn't because of it being a career change, which of course is big for anybody, not just that. But this role, so when I started working in TV when I was 20. I was still in college when I got my job in television. And so I had grown up in this industry and in front of our community, right? On TV this entire time. And so my self-esteem and my sense of self, who I am, what I valued, what was good about me, what I could bring to the table, was really tied up in that industry. And changing from that role to the role that I'm in now was a big shift for me, because it allowed me to think about what and who I was and who I wanted to be. Because I was no longer Jackie on TV, TM, right? I got to be just Jackie Kingston, just myself, who's just crazy about my husband and my dog and, all of these other things that make me me. It wasn't about how much makeup I was wearing, or, what I looked like and what my body looked like on television. That was a huge consideration for me throughout my entire career, right? Trying to look smaller, trying to look like in academic study, they call it, the middle class paragon ideal of a person, right? Someone who's pretty, who you want to be friends with, but someone who's not threatening, who's not going to steal your husband or boyfriend, right?
Oh,
And so it was just like trying to fit myself into that mold did a lot of damage to me that I don't think that I really understood until I truly got out of it. But I started to understand it when I met Lytton and when I fell in love with Lytton, because I learned about love from them is prismatic. And it started to change how I thought of myself because I saw how they saw me. And so when I met Lytton, I fell in love with Lytton, and I started to understand what love was, I started to question whether my job was really something that was nourishing me. That
Mm-hmm.
was something that I wanted to continue to pour my time and energy into. And like our dear personal friend Taylor Swift says, when it's time to go, you just go. And it was time. And I put in my resignation months in advance, as you do. And I broke my contract, and I just said, I kind of can't do this anymore. Like I'm done here. And so March of 2024, I left my job at KAMR, and then I took a month off. I bummed around the house. I did a lot of sleeping. And then I got called by the folks at the Amarillo Tribune, the board members who were setting this up, and they asked me to come on board as the first employee. And so I've been here since April 1st of 2024.
I cannot imagine the pressure that you felt. Like, we talk a lot about body dysmorphia on this podcast. And, whenever I first graduated high school, I went into public relations and media and communications. And I was thinking, I'm going to be the next Erin Andrews. I'm going to be on
Yeah.
TV, and this is what I want to do. And then now, in the position that I'm in this very moment in time, I can't imagine anything worse. Like, I already have a hard time looking in the mirror some days and accepting, all that is. And so for everyone on TV to be also, judging or looking to you, what does your hair look like? What does your outfit look like? Did she gain a little bit of weight? And then that translates to, is she pregnant? Is she sick? There's just so many different things, but I cannot imagine what that pressure was like. But also, I feel like so many people can relate to your story and your experience. A lot of women listening that have felt the same things, whether it is losing a job or getting in a relationship or just the version of themselves that they thought they were sure about, and then having to rebuild when something like that happens.
Mhm. And one of the things that helped me to focus on that and to do that, I'm going to share some resources that I used to help me kind of find a starting point for that, because it was kind of scary. It's like, I feel a little unmoored with this. Like, where do I begin? If I know that's not me, then who am I?
Yes.
And so um, one of the things that really helped me to focus on that was getting off of social media. I was there when we started the TV network that I worked for. We started the Facebook page back. I mean, that's how long I've been in news. I remember before we had Facebook. So being there for that, and then growing up on camera and growing up with social media, it was a megaphone of opinions and of personalities, and it made it so much harder. Social media makes it so much harder. And so the night that I left the station that I worked for, we signed off, it's 10:45 or whatever. I deleted my social media from my work computer and left, and was like, done. I have to take a break from this. I don't care. Like, I don't care about the following that I've built. I care about the people, but I cannot care about these opinions. I can't carry that anymore. I can't carry that pressure anymore, because I've got to figure out who I am outside of that and outside of what other people think. And so that was a really important move for me, to just say, I've got to get away from anybody else's opinion and just take it back home, and just be myself and take time for myself and reflection and get out of the echo chamber.
I love and hate social media sometimes. I think it does, like you said, you met Leighton on social media. But it also does, it has that side to where we just get sucked in and we really start to put a higher value on other people's opinions when it really doesn't matter, because they're not living your life and they cannot dictate who you are and what you do in your spare time and or how you should feel about yourself. So I love that piece of advice. If I was not in marketing, I would 1000% get rid of my social media accounts for sure.
If you could just even take, like, I've started. I did this one Sunday. I did it last Sunday, and I'm going to keep doing it. But I did no scroll Sunday. I was like, I'm just not going to be on social media on Sunday. Like, I'm just going to close it down. And that's been helpful because, of course, my job now, got to be back on social media in some capacity. You've got to be on social media. But taking those mindful breaks and truly just saying, leave the phone in the other room has been really helpful for my mental health.
That's a great idea. We really try at our house to put our phones, out of the way. Half the time I don't know where my phone is. And then especially at dinner time when we sit down, we like to, even though we eat meal prep at our house, we still make our meal prep and sit across from each other and don't have our phones and we talk about the day. And it's just so refreshing. So I
It's so
really love that
important.
idea. Okay, I encourage you to keep going. I know it's only been one Sunday, but I love that idea. And I'm going to have to participate in your no scroll Sunday.
Now that I've said it out loud, I'll be held accountable and I'll do it again.
That's very true. Okay, so how does it look for you to talk to yourself now than it did before? Like, have you had to actively rewrite some of the stories that you were telling yourself about yourself? And what does that process look like for you?
I'm so much kinder to myself now. I'm so much kinder to myself. And and part of that was that self-image and body dysmorphia and disordered eating and those kind of things and just getting influenced, and all of these I've done every diet. I mean, I've done every diet. And like, that's a whole other, we could spend another
Yes.
hour talking about like how predatory social media, but media is to women. But then also because I wasn't out as a queer person for the majority of my time in television, there was a lot of self-hatred that I had, a lot of fighting against who I am. And so getting to be a queer person in media now has just changed my entire worldview. It's changed how I talk to myself. It's changed how I make decisions even. Just going, do I like this? Is this something I enjoy? Do I want to keep wearing contacts? Do I want to do, but truly like even just those very basic things that I had just accepted, I got to re-question and see and get to know myself again. And so I decided to be kind with myself when I was asking those questions and asking it in a kind and compassionate way rather than a judgmental way. Leading with curiosity, even just to myself, was really important.
I can actually relate. I was running on fumes all the time and getting involved in so many things. I was in so many organizations and committees and involved in so much. And I remember, I went over to my husband that we were dating at the time. I went to his house and I just started complaining about, this is what we're having to do. I don't understand. And at one point he just looked at me and he said, "Why do you do this? Why do you feel the need to continue to do it if it stresses you out?" And now I take that kind of like you do. And I have to stop and ask myself, is this bringing me joy? Does this feed my purpose, my passion in life? And whether that is a cause that is near and dear to my heart, or maybe it's a piece of clothing too. Because it can be as simple as that, like you said, like with the glasses situation.
And that's so right. And our time is so valuable. And when I was doing things like when I had that more public facing job where I had to be at all the luncheons and I had to host all the events and and that was joyful and I was grateful to do it and I'm grateful for all the things that job gave me, but getting away from that, it was a choice to start saying no to hosting those things and to taking myself out of those roles and to reassess what was appropriate for me in this position now and what I could let go of and encourage others to do. And that's been a big change for me too. What do I deserve in this role?
Mm.
What does my family deserve in this role? What kind of, really being intentional about how I spend my time and how I spend my energy, is refreshing to me and allows me to say no to some things because they don't bring me joy, because they don't fulfill me, and because I don't want to, sometimes. So having the freedom to say no is really refreshing. It's also hard because you have to be honest with yourself.
Right.
You've got to be, asking those curious questions of yourself and really like, well, why don't I want to do this? Like, I have a lot of anxiety about this, or I'm feeling this way about this situation. Why is that? Can I explore that a little deeper? Uncover more of myself and to see where it doesn't align with my values, where it doesn't align with who I am and who I want to be, and why that is.
And thank you for saying deserve, like recognizing if it's something that you and your family deserve. Because I think too, when we start coming into this transition of who we were and now who we want to be, we always use the word want. Do I want to do this? Do I want to look this way? Do I want to be a certain person or personality? And really, I love the deserve piece of that because that is something that we also have to shed in our new life is things that we may or may not deserve, situations, relationships that we didn't deserve to tolerate or, put up with. And so I love that you said that because I think it's a huge missing piece for a lot of us going through that.
And just the basics of, what do I deserve on a day to day? Do I deserve rest? Do I deserve to have pretty candles in my office? Do I deserve, like, what are the things that me, just as a person, as a human, that I get to do because I have value and I have worth and I respect myself and I am lovable and I am loved. And what can I build on with that? It's, for me, it's knowing what drains me, right? If I have a big people event, I'm going to need to sleep for like 12 hours. Like, I have
Yeah.
to I have to reset. I have to give myself that, making sure I've eaten something. That's a huge, going home for lunch is like absolutely like something I will never not do in my day. Like, going home for lunch, taking that minute, even if it's just 20 minutes, like drive real fast, eat some leftovers, drive back, but having that pause in my day, it's something that I think I deserve. So it's something I do, you know, and I want to go pet my dog and I want to see my husband. And, so making sure that I'm being nourished and fed and that I have rest and that I'm giving myself space and allowing for more capacity. Um, it's not something that comes naturally to me. And I think a lot of us think to serve others, right? We're just working for other people and always putting out fires and always putting other people first. But the thing a few years ago where it was like, self-care is not selfish. It's so true. We've got to take care of ourselves. You can't pour from an empty cup. And making that a reality in my life has been a big shift for me.
No, I feel like there are so many tangents that you and I could go on for at least, I don't know, half a day.
I think you're right.
Well, let's move into your role with the Tribune. You talked a little bit about kind of how it got started, but it is described as a community supported nonprofit newsroom. So, for somebody or some of us who are not from a journalism background, who's never thought about journalism, what does that actually mean for just someone who's discovering it for the first time?
I think the best way to say it is local news by local folks. We are managed by a local board of directors. We're a nonprofit, so we're not associated with a big corporation. We're not associated or affiliated with any other news organization. We've literally just started this here and started doing it here in Amarillo. We are supported by local businesses that advertise with us. We are supported by donations as well. We're a nonprofit, so of course we can accept donations, but the buck stops here and the service area is here, right? We focus on Potter and Randall counties and we tell the stories of our friends and neighbors, and we try and serve our community with the answers to their questions. And being based in Amarillo and being able to hire people who are from here gives us such an interesting perspective on the news, because none of our crew, myself included, are trying to just go somewhere else. All right, this isn't a springboard. We want to work here. We want to do this work here. We want to serve our friends and family with this work that we do. And we're not beholden to some major company telling us what we can and can't say.
Right.
So we just get to cover local news. And it's just such a joy to tell the stories of our friends and neighbors.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of us actually even think about local news first. I know until I was in a previous job that I really didn't pay much attention to local news, which is a huge mistake. But I think obviously there's a lot going on in the world every single day. And we, like we mentioned on social media, we might scroll through Facebook or Instagram and we maybe catch a national headline. Why should someone who maybe feels like they barely have time to actually care about anything in general, really pay attention to our local news?
Local news is where your power is. It's very similar to voting, right? The folks that we vote for in the national level and to some extent at the state level, they don't know us,
Mhm.
right? But our city councilmen, our judges, the people who we do vote for locally, they do know us and they work for us. And certainly that's true on the national level too. But like here, there's more accountability and there's more power if something is wrong with your sidewalk, for example, right? Like you've got to go to the local people to get it sorted,
Right.
right? You can't go to the national folks to get it sorted. You've got to call city hall or, call streets and organize that way and get that problem solved that way. Local news is very similar, right? The major corporations, these big companies, they don't have to be accountable and they don't have to care about our communities. But we get to. The Amarillo Tribune gets to. And so when you're scrolling and when you're doing algorithm and you're on social media and nobody has time, one of the things that I hope that people will learn from this and that I hope that people will understand is that the algorithm that all social media functions on highlights and reinforces anger and
Mhm.
rage and outrage. The only thing that sells faster than sex is outrage. So the algorithm, if you are not paying for a product, you are the product. So if you are on free social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, that kind of thing, right? If you are on that, they are benefiting from your interactions on social media. The company, is benefiting from what you are doing and the content that you are giving to them for free. And they are using that content to attract more likes, more reactions, because that's how they get paid, right? And so if you are just relying on social media for your news, what you're only getting is bad news. And that's how it's designed, right? And so if you want to truly know what's going on in your community, I would just encourage folks to get out of that algorithm cycle and do something, find a resource. Check out the Amarillo Tribune. I won't be shy about it. Like
Make that plug, girl.
yeah, intentionally every day, humans put together our news coverage. Humans put together a newsletter that goes to your inbox every morning that is just what you need to know about what's going on in the community that day. And it's just our community, right? We're not made to know about all of the things that are happening worldwide. That our brains cannot handle that. We have not evolutionarily evolved to handle the fire hose of information that's coming to us. So taking that power back and saying, what I can care about is local news and what I can care about is my friends and neighbors, and then finding a resource like the Amarillo Tribune to give you just the few things that you need to know and not in a huge bombastic anger making kind of way, right? Just your calm friends telling you what's going on, what you need to know for the day. Like that is taking your power back in local news. And that is returning power to our community because it gives us a calm place to think about how these things matter, why they matter, and what we should do about it, and how we can equip our neighbors with information to make better choices.
Absolutely. And I love that the Tribune always hosts information sessions as well because that's huge. It is very difficult for us to trust news sources in this day and age, and for you to openly have discussions where people are allowed to come and ask questions and you have the facts laid out. It's like, this is what we know, or you have a question that gets asked and you may not have the answer. That's what encourages you to keep going and encourages you to keep seeking that out. So I love that it feels like Amarillo has a trusted, unbiased source for news, and it is local news. I can't tell you how many times I get so irritated when a crazy headline pops up on social media and then I click on it and it's in Georgia. And I'm just like, you scared the crap out of me thinking something crazy was happening in Amarillo in my backyard.
I hate it. That is like my Newman. It makes me so angry when that happens because it's psyching you out, right?
Right.
It's making you scared. It's eliciting that reaction. And it's not fair because it's designed to get a reaction to make money, right? And so when you are doing factual news that truly answers questions and that invites curiosity and conversation, it's just a different world. Like I feel like I've just rewired my brain and my approach to news, being able just to say, I focus on Amarillo. I share my friends and neighbors' stories. And what I've found in that is that I hear the word and I use the word refreshing a lot because it's not all bad news.
Right.
And when you're in the algorithm cycle, all you're getting is bad news. But when you step out of that and you're just looking, you're scrolling our website or you're getting our newsletter or you're looking at our social media, but like you'll find stories that are not bad news and not bombastic and not some crazy headline, click here and, wanting a reaction of you. The true spirit of it is service and of equipping our neighbors with information. And it's a very different world, nonprofit news, than for-profit news. And it's one that has reignited my passion in what I do and aligns with my values, aligns with, I told you, like, I care, I value this community so much. I respect this community so much. I'm so grateful for it because it took me in as a kid, and like, I really respect this community. I love my friends and neighbors. I love telling their stories. And so getting to do it, actually do it, is just, it's so joyful. I love this job. I love getting to do this.
I love that you love that because I feel like sometimes, yes, we do have very positive stories. I'm glad we have somebody focusing on those as well. But there are other times where we do have some very hard edge, controversial things come up. And I feel like you have really spoken about your compassion and your values and how it really gets to be reflected in your job at the Tribune. But how does that challenge your values in a sense? Like, is there a value that you hold for yourself personally that sometimes makes this job a little harder because it can be daunting and it can be overwhelming at times?
It's really, I think about this a lot because when I identified that there was this like shift in my sense of how I perceive the work that I do, I was like, why is that? Why does this feel so different? And I think it's because I am for this community unabashedly, right? I live here. I want our community to thrive. When I approach stories like that and with love and with compassion, accountability is a natural outcropping of that, right? It does not mean that we don't ask hard questions, but we ask hard questions because we deserve to know the answers, right? It's not because we're trying to catch someone out or make someone look bad or whatever. It's because our community, if we love our community and we are building our community, we have got to have accountability baked in. It aligns with integrity. I feel like, integrity in our newsroom, accuracy, honesty. Of course, those are pillars of journalism, but like admitting when we're wrong, admitting when we've gotten something and fixing it and being held accountable by our community and inviting our community to ask questions and to hold us accountable. And I love skepticism. I love when people are like, I don't really trust the media. I'm like, yes. Oh, let's talk, because I don't either. But I trust, I trust our community, and I want to tell you about what we're building here. It's a different approach to journalism, for sure, to do local journalism than what I did previously.
And I'm sure you deal with this also whenever you're writing and really doing research for a certain story, but not everybody involved in the community has that compassion that we need to have for each other. And so I wanted to ask you personally, do you think compassion is something that can be learned, or is it more like you just have it or you don't?
Oh, I think you can absolutely learn compassion. I think it's like a muscle, like a discipline that you have to flex and that you have to work to be more compassionate and reach people, meet people where they are, and to what I think the key is for me, something that really helps me when I'm feeling triggered, when somebody has asked a question that's a hard question or has accused me of something. What really helps me is to approach with curiosity first, right? Why would this person be writing this to me? Why would this person be accusing me of this? What's going on in their heart? What's going on in their life, right? Is this the first time that they've been able to reach out to somebody who's part of the media? Is this their first experience with this? Like approaching with curiosity first helps me to be compassionate with people, because there, there are a lot of people who think it's cool to be bitter and take the pot shots and call people names or those kind of things. And I just don't find it to be who we actually are as people. Like, I just never believe people online. And I always want to have like discourse with people, like conversations, even if it's just via email, which happens a lot with our audience. Like, we solicit feedback on every story that we publish. And I and my staff work to answer every email that we get from those. It makes the conversation a lot different because people will come at me and say something or ask some really pointed questions or just like stream of consciousness, like, you got this wrong or you did this, blaming me for something. And then when I come back and kind of explain, like, oh, well, this is how this works. This is our thinking about it. This is how I wrote that story. So often I will get an email back that's like, I did not expect to hear back from you. Thank you. Like, people are not used to having local news be local, right? And
Right.
not used to having people who are in their corner, who are experiencing this with them and who are doing their best to serve our community with information and like explaining and being transparent about the process with them. And so it is always a change of pace when I get to talk to people. And that keeps me going, thinking about being compassionate and building compassion and learning compassion and practicing compassion, because no one's ever who they are on the internet.
Yes, so true. Even me, sometimes I'm like, that makes it look like I have a lot more confidence than I really do. So
It
yeah,
brings out the worst in us.
it really
Like
does.
talking about the algorithm, like, it rewards outrage. It rewards big feelings. And so that's what we're used to bartering with online, right? Outrage and big feelings. And so when you take that away and you just go back to having a human conversation, it's really powerful. It's really powerful. So that's why we like to do things like our gatherings and our behind the headlines events, because I want to know what our community's about and I want them to know us. So it's joyful. It really is joyful.
Jackie, I love that you've been able to find this new love for all things in life, but especially getting to really inject your values and your passions into the work that you do every day. Because that's also a huge blessing, is that not everybody gets to be in that position. But I also will say you put in the work to get yourself there. Because that's also the important piece of the puzzle that sometimes I think a lot of us forget, is that it does take work for us to get to this type of place. So I'm glad that you found that for yourself, and that we have a source like you in our local news to go to, but also just today on the podcast, being able to share your experience. You're also a trusted source in that sense for personal development.
Thank you. I'm so glad to share. I think it's been such an interesting journey. I feel like I've grown a lot, and I don't feel older particularly. I just feel like deeper. Does that make sense?
Deeper. I like that.
Getting out of a place where I was rewarding my ego and relying on ego, and then taking that out because true service and ego can't exist together, right? True service and ego can't live in the same house. And so getting that ego part out of who I was, and I still, of course, have ego, but trying to separate it from the work that I do has also been really helpful. Just recognizing what I was rewarding myself for, what I was basing my confidence on. That change has been important.
If there is anyone out there listening today, maybe they are in that in between place, not sure who they are after they've lost something, after they've lost the relationship, or they're entering a new season into life. What is something that you would want to say to them?
If your role is changing, you can trust yourself. I think that we innately know who we are and who we want to be. So go back to that. Go back to literally writing down what you value, what is important to you, not just what your day should look like, not for work, for yourself. Like, what is important to you, Kaylor? What is important to me, Jackie? Honesty, integrity, fun, food, gardening. All of these things make me who I am. And so if you have that and you know those things about yourself, man, that's your North Star. And anything that doesn't fit within that can go to the wayside. It's not meant for you. So you can trust yourself and you can trust the things that you know about yourself to guide you.
I love that so much. I need to take that into consideration even when I'm choosing the next plant for my home. Because sometimes I'm like, should I do this? Should I do this? Am I capable of taking care of this one? So,
Kaylor, why do I keep buying trees? I don't need trees inside my home. I have a palm tree I rescued from the clearance bin during the pandemic. It's taller than me. What do I need with a palm tree in my house that's taller than me? I don't.
So true. Listen, the one tree I have in my house is fake because number one, I know I probably couldn't keep it alive because it's a fake fiddle leaf. And I know those are very expensive and very, very picky. And I have plants now that are getting very tall, and it's just like, what do we do with it after we're done?
Why did I buy a lemon tree? What am I gonna do with a lemon tree in Amarillo, Texas?
Just
I don't know, but it brought me joy, so I'll figure it out.
I feel like as soon as I see a lemon on that thing, I'm gonna be filled with sunshine. So
Exactly.
There you go. That's your excuse. Okay, Jackie. Well, I always ask all of my guests two very important questions, so I cannot wait to hear your answers. But the first question is, what is something that most people may not know about you?
I love to sing.
Okay.
I grew up singing and of course I came to WT for musical theater. Performing has not been a part of my life for the past couple of decades, but my house and my shower concerts are pretty epic.
I feel like everyone's shower concerts are great.
That's where I sound the best. I have the most confidence there. My poor dog.
Oh my gosh. Do you ever feel like you will try to discover that part of you again? Like, will you ever get into performing, or is that to be determined?
TBD. I'm not against it.
Okay.
I'm not against it. I love that we have so many opportunities for performance. I think, ALT, the Amarillo Little Theater, does musicals, does performances like that. And I think it would be super fun to be involved in that, to be on stage again, in some way. So yeah, potentially. Not, we're soft launching an audition here, but.
I love that. If anyone from ALT is listening, Jackie might be interested in the near future.
Exactly.
I would go and audition. I'd be like, listen, I'm a has-been, and it's been many years since I've been in theater, but just let me do it. Let me be an extra. I think I would still have a blast.
But you got lead actor, best actor in high school, so you've got some chops for this, Kaylor. I think you could be great.
Okay, thank you. We're gonna go with each other to audition, and if no one else is cheering for us, we would just be in the back, just hype girls.
100%. 100%.
Okay, the second question is, who are three women who inspire you?
I'm going to give you authors.
Okay.
Of course, there are wonderful women who are here who inspire me, who I know in real life, but thinking about just the topic of this podcast and kind of stepping out of a role and into a new one, there are three authors whose work carried me and helped me through that time. There's a book called Rage Becomes Her, and it's by Soraya Shamali. And I cannot recommend that book enough. When you learn about love, you also learn about accountability, and you learn about how injustice is unbearable and cannot exist at the same time as love. So Rage Becomes Her. Gloria Steinem's The Revolution from Within is a book that I just always read. I'm constantly going back to it, reading something, reading another chapter, reconsidering, and it has grown with me as I've kind of become who I am now. I always find new things, new insights from that book, The Revolution from Within. And Bell Hooks wrote a trilogy called All About Love. All About Love is the first book, and then Community is the next book, and then Salvation is the third. And it's one of those books that I have to all of those books are books that I have to do in like 5-minute increments, because there's so much truth and so much power to what she writes. Then I have to go sit with it or walk the dog or, think about it over the weekend, because she's so powerful in her writing. So, Bell Hooks, the All About Love trilogy.
Oh my gosh, I was taking notes as you were talking, because I was like, I have to include all of these resources for the listeners, but also for myself. I have to break out of my pattern of like thrillers, murder mysteries sometimes. So these three sound like great resources. And it seems natural that you would only provide resources for your growth. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Absolutely.
Okay, Jackie, I want you to tell everybody where they can follow along with either you or learn more about the Amarillo Tribune. So where can we find all of that information?
Please visit amarillotribune.org. Please check us out. If you are news avoidant, if you are someone who hasn't ever read local news or you stopped reading local news, I get it. And we are building this product for you, because we are not doing it the same way everybody else is, and we just have you in mind. So please check out the Amarillo Tribune. You can follow us on social media. We have a presence. We're not too serious about it there because we're never going to win on the algorithm. But truly, signing up for our weekday newsletter is a great way to experience our work. All of our journalists in the newsroom, there's 4 of us on staff. We take turns writing it every day, so it's produced by a local person who actually does the news. And I just think it's a really nice way to start the day. It's not overwhelming. It's not something that we're going to make you feel fearful. We're just going to equip you with what you need to know for the day. So please check us out.
Well, thank you so much again for being willing to come on and talk about your life experience and this new phase and season of your life. It sounds like it is the best and brightest, and I'm sure it is far from over. So thank you for sharing that piece of joy with us today.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me to your community and for allowing me to meet your community here. I'm so thrilled to have been on.
And that's a wrap for today's episode. Jackie, thank you for sitting down with me today and for being so open and honest. I feel like I just got to have coffee with a really good friend, and I hope that you all felt that way too. What is sticking with me from this conversation is what Jackie said about going back to your values, that they are absolutely your North Star. Anything that doesn't fit within that just isn't meant for you. And I really needed that reminder. Be sure to check out the Amarillo Tribune at amarillotribune.org and sign up for their weekday newsletter. The link is in the show notes and in our biweekly newsletter. And if this episode resonated with you, please share it with a woman in your life who is in that in-between place and remind her that she is not alone. Until next time, stay strong, stay connected, and keep growing.